Hey, bet you weren't expecting this face. You weren't, were you? It's a little darker than normal, a little bit curlier hair, a little bit more youthful. What's good, y'all? I'm Winston Marshall. I'm joined with Coy Jandreau today because, it's Capes and Cowls Day. We did it a day early because, there's some crazy news happening out there. Some about like Henry Cavill losing his job, but, should he? James Gunn just, and Saffron doing what they got to do. They got a plan, man. They got a plan. We're going to talk about it. There's some other DC stuff brewing. If we got time, there's Marvel drama. There's stuff everywhere. That's what Capes and Cowls is about. But before we get into all that, just your first time here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, man. Do it. Join the channel. Kristian wants to get this to 70K by the end of the year as a Christmas present to him. So I'm cheap. I'm not going to buy him nothing. So do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. Seriously, do that. And of course, if you're joining us, we got all sorts of cool merch as well. You can find that in the description. Capes and Cowls shirt. We got the Top Gun guy. I don't have that sound effect, so I can't do that for you. All sorts of really good stuff. So check that out in the description. And for all the podcast listeners, thank you for joining us, man. Be sure on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever it is, give us that 5-star review. Keep downloading, keep sharing it with your friends. Let the folks know what the deal is. But with that, I think it's about time, y'all. It's time for a little bit of Capes and Cowls. That's right. Capes and Cowls is here. Like I said before, I'm joined by the wonderful, the talented, the person that apparently doesn't read comics, Coy Jandreau, is up in the building.
I feel like maybe I should pick those up. I hear I might like them. I don't know.
You might like them. You never know, man. And of course, I'm Winston Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blurred. Kristian is not here today. He is off with his family, having a wonderful time. Thank you so much for joining us. Regardless, he will definitely be back for the next one. But it's just going to be me and Coy today. So we're going to talk about it. Like we said, there's a lot of stuff to get into, man. So we're going to do that. Coy, first of all, just to ask you real quick, man, this news dropped yesterday. We're going to dive right into it in just a moment. Your just initial thoughts when you heard? Because I got a phone call randomly at 7, Kristian going, you know what you're talking about, right? I was like, no, I'm working, bitch. I have a job.
I mean, as someone new to comic books, I feel like they're very tricky to really weigh the pros and cons of. No, but okay, so reboots happen, right? But the way they go cleanly is unfortunately when they're barren earth, when they're clean. When you restart a universe in comic books, you don't get to pick your favorite toys and bring them with you. They try, and it usually doesn't work out. So I want to upfront say that I think that Henry Cavill is one of the best casting decisions any studio has done. I think Henry Cavill as Superman is on par with your Downey Jr. Iron Mans, your Ryan Reynolds Deadpools, in my opinion, Andrew Garfield Spider-Man's. Like, he's of that echelon. And I think much like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, he is a victim of circumstance. I think a lot of things led to this moment. I think this was a perfect storm of things going completely wrong. I don't think anyone is to blame. I want to upfront say that I trust in what James Gunn and Peter Saffron are doing. I know that's going to get me some heat. Bring it in the comments. I know people are mad right now. And what's interesting is I appreciate the passion because again, a new comic fan, I like the passion of the comic book world. And I just feel like it's being mirrored.
I'm sorry, dude. I can't get over that tweet. And I was gonna also say wrap it up just a little bit so I can give him the actual story. But we're gonna dive in. But I hear you in what you're saying.
It's just like the passion behind comic fans is always there, and I respect that. It's part of why I love comic book culture. Right? Is we're passionate, but I think just right now we're in that phase where we're lashing out, and there are some people that are going to stay childish and immature and angry, and there's some people that are going to stay in a place of defense and oh no. But this boycott WB movement, I don't understand how anyone.
Oh, does that exist?
Oh, it's trending, dude. Like fire James Gunn and boycott WB are both spicy on the Twitters. But bitch, you got a job. You haven't been seeing all this heat.
No, because I have more important things to do than to boycott WB. There are bigger reasons to boycott WB. This is Capes and Cowls, so we're not going to get into the trash fire that is HBO Max right now. Let's talk about what you've teed up, man. As has been noted, Henry Cavill is officially out as Superman. as per a number of sources, but we'll take the Variety article, things are heating up in Metropolis as DC Studios co-head James Gunn has announced he's writing a new feature film about Superman. In step with the new project, Gunn has also revealed that Henry Cavill will not return as the hero. Peter and I, he was quoted in saying, Peter and I have a DC slate ready to go, which we couldn't be more over the moon about. We'll be able to share some exciting information about our first projects at the beginning of the new year, the director turned label chief tweeted on Wednesday evening. Among those on the slate is Superman. In the initial stages, our story will be focused on the earlier part of Superman's life, so the character will not be played by Henry Cavill. We just had a great meeting with Henry, and we're big fans, and we talked about a number of exciting possibilities to work together in the future. Now, sources close to DC told Variety that Gunn, his co-president Peter Safran, and Cavill met recently and are all energized to find something in the comic book universe for Cavill to tackle. Cavill confirmed that he would not be reprising the role of Superman in a statement shared on Instagram. It's sad news, everyone. I will, after all, not be returning as Superman. After being told by the studio to announce my return back in October prior to their hire, this news isn't the easiest, but that's life, Cavill wrote. I respect that James and Peter have a universe to build. I wish them and all involved within the universe the best of luck and the happiest of fortunes. Now, Gunn has been at work on the new Superman story for some time, insiders say. The script will focus on the character's life as a cub reporter in a fictional city of Metropolis. Audiences will encounter him meeting key characters like colleague Lois Lane, insiders added. And additionally, Variety sources said that the new Gunn project will not replace the previously announced J.J. Abrams' Ta-Nehisi Coates Superman concept, which is still in active development. Cavill isn't the only star from the last DC era to sit down with Gunn and Safran. Ben Affleck, who'd been playing Batman in numerous films from the label, recently met with the pair to specifically discuss the prospect of directing an upcoming DC feature. Individuals familiar with those talks said. Now, the Superman news comes after a week of headlines following Warner Brothers' decision to not move forward with a new Wonder Woman movie with director Patty Jenkins. On Tuesday, Jenkins tweeted a lengthy statement saying she was open to considering anything asked of me in regards to a potential third project, which was scrapped. Shortly after, Gunn responded with support, saying to Jenkins on Twitter, I can attest that all of Peter and my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional. As Gunn stated Monday, more details on the reimagined DC universe are expected to come in January. So you hear all of that. It's fully flushed out now. It's not just the tweets from Gunn. It's not just the Instagram post from Cavill, but just some further up reporting. What do you hear about that, Coy, and how are you feeling, man?
So first of all, I just want to, and again, there's going to be so many people mad at me praising the way this is going, but I think James Gunn being transparent is really smart. I think we've never had a CEO of this scale use Twitter to this, way. I also think we've never seen someone kind of post a mourning of a character on Instagram to this scale. Like, actors obviously, get in situations where they have to. Oops. But this is unprecedented. This is something that I've been saying this for a few weeks now, and I don't think people are talking about the fact that we've never seen a shared universe die. We've started shared universes and they've fallen before they got going. And we have a shared universe at Marvel, but we've never had a shared universe have to end. It's not going to be clean. It's not going to go well. It is not going to be something that people are happy about. But I think with all of the things going wrong, this is the best way to handle the house on fire. And honestly, with Patty Jenkins gone, with Henry Cavill gone, like that's the end of the DCEU as it stands now. It's not like they're going to keep Ben Affleck as Batman and not keep Henry Cavill. And it's not like Henry Cavill is the golden boy. Like it's the one that all the fans are enamored with. He's the one that loves the character so publicly as a nerd. Like he's one of us looking outside Clark Kent's glasses. Like they're not going to get rid of him for keeping anybody.
No, I agree with you, man. And I think there's a number of things to keep in mind here. So looking at what was said, and knowing again that Gunn and Safran have come through and they were hired specifically to take this, IP that is DC Comics as a whole and to make something full out of it. And I truly believe this is something I remember hearing years ago as advice, and it has popped up in sports, in like life coaching type stuff, whatever, is that sometimes the only way to go up is to go down. Sometimes you actually have to go down and go back to square one in order to actually achieve a higher height than you're at. And you hear examples of this, for example, with both Tiger Woods and I believe it was either Kobe or LeBron, one of the two of them. But the idea that with Tiger, he would get a new swing coach, or as his swing coach would change a way that they were teaching stuff, he would unlearn how to hit a golf ball and start all over again, because whatever technique he has now, he can hit it 300 yards, but this new technique allows him to hit it 500 yards. You know, it's like Kobe can hit this mid jumper well, but his three isn't good. But if he relearns how to do that jump shot, he's going to be really bad for a minute, but then all of a sudden he's hitting threes and almost half court shots. It's this idea that you genuinely have to start from square one to end up with a better product. So they were hired in the first place to make something great, and I truly believe that they will. Is it super effing sad that Henry Cavill is out? Absolutely. I think that he has taken that character and has made something magical out of it. Even though I haven't loved every second of the DCEU, I have loved him in the role. He plays it exceptionally well. So it does bum me out to hear that he's gone, but in Gunn and Saffron, I trust until they give me a reason not to.
So the post-credit scene in Black Adam is one of my favorite post-credit scenes in the history of movies. Post-credit scenes are their own art, right? And that, 30 seconds showed how exactly right Henry Cavill could have been. Henry Cavill's gotten, like I said with Andrew Garfield, he's gotten rough scripts. He's gotten multiple directors and going different directions. He's gotten, in my opinion, his view of Superman is much more akin to my view of Superman, but that's not necessarily the Superman that's been built in the roles he's had to play. Right. So the fact that I love Henry Cavill as much as I do while playing a character that isn't how I perceive him is a testament to Henry Cavill as Superman. But when, for example, Kristian and I were talking about Amy Adams coming back as Lois Lane after Disenchanted, we were like, whether or not that's going to happen. The fact that was even a question, and the fact that I can't tell you what makes Amy Adams Lois Lane singularly Lois Lane, because she's had to play Lois Lane for Joss Whedon. She's had to play Lois Lane for Zack Snyder. She's not really had the opportunity to flesh out this character. And if you look at her interactions with Superman and Clark Kent, none of them have felt kind of the same. Like if you look at those scenes just separately, and if you're building a universe, you've got to have your foundation, your Superman so rock solid. And then you've got people that are saying like, yeah, but people would understand if Henry Cavill came back as Superman with other people, like with other supporting cast members. That is an idea, and some people would understand, but not, I don't think, the greater masses to scale, because we're all in a bubble. We're all in the, I found out this week and it blew my mind. The average person on Twitter only tweets twice a month. The average user on Twitter only tweets twice a month.
We are broken, bro. We are broken individuals. If that the average is two
a minute,
we tweet a lot more than that, bro. That's not. Oh my god.
So look at our perspective, right? We think of Twitter as much more important than it is. We think of Twitter. I mean, and Twitter is important because it connects us all, but to scale. So if you're looking at people thinking of Superman awareness and movie awareness, if the bubble is what you read on Twitter, yeah, those are people the most plugged in that are tweeting 20 times a day. The people that are in rural communities that are watching movies because they come out on a Friday and they go, oh, I didn't know a new Superman was out. Let me go in there. Why is the guy that I saw 10 years ago now with a new everyone else? What's this? What's going on?
Well, I see. Okay. So the only pushback I give on that, I'm split, because again, the Flash movie is still a thing. You are still getting your reset. I truly believe that other than it must be a phenomenal movie from everything that we've heard. But because of what Flashpoint represents, that is an automatic hard reset. The same way Superboy Prime punching the hell out of the universe is a hard reset. You can do a hard reset on the universe and things can look the same but different. So I think it could have been fine to do that. But I think what's more important here, and it's based on what was kind of being said, Gunn and Saffron want to specifically focus on a younger Superman. It does not mean that Henry Cavill is old. He just looks like Superman in his prime, and that is not what they are going for. So that doesn't mean that he can't come back in some form or fashion as a mature Clark Kent at some point or another, but it's clear that they want a dude that looks closer to 20s, early 30s versus 30s, early 40s, because whatever story you're telling is clearly going to take time, and you want to start with the younger version. I would rather you have a young up-and-coming actor that can fit the role properly than trying to de-age Henry Cavill and all that kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think it would just read better if that
didn't work out for his mustache. I don't think it's going to work out for 10 years from now for his face. I just feel like we've had some precedent.
Hey, it's funny that you mentioned that, man, about keeping your hair trimmed and clean. Because one of our first sponsors today is none other than Manscaped. So now a lot of y'all are familiar with Manscaped. We've had them a lot joining us on the big thing on Capes and Cowls over at the Kristian Harloff channel. And it's 'tis the season for clean balls. Fa la 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 la. Allah. Our friends over at Manscaped are helping you clear your driveway for safe travels this holiday season. From stocking stuffers to white elephants, Manscaped's products are at the top of every wish list. So grab some crop mops for your pops or the body buffer for the holiday lover. Win this year's white elephant gift and help all the men in your life go from eggnog to nice hog this December. Save 20% in free shipping by going to manscaped.com/big-thing. So I can't remember, Coy. Do you have any Manscaped products?
I
Were
have
you
that
with us
exact kit on screen.
Nice, man.
I
What
got
do you
that
think?
4.0.
What do you think about the 4.0, man?
Dude, it's crazy because it's like so efficient and smooth that it feels like, when you have a new tool and you remember what it was like to use an old one, how you're like, well, I've missed out on years and years of ease. It's like going from a Nokia to an iPhone 13.
Damn, that's impressive, man. It sounds like it's like, again, this holiday sale looks like I need to upgrade because I got the 3.0, so I might have to bump it up to that platinum package 4.0 plus loads of little gifts for stocking stuffers, the shears 2.0 for nail care, scissors, clippers, tweezers, all that good stuff. You got the preserve cologne, the body buffer, the nose hair trimmer, all of that are there to keep you smelling good and looking good. So again, save 20% and free shipping by going to manscaped.com/big-thing. That's right, 20% off and free shipping by going to manscaped.com/big-thing. Manscaped, for a perfect gift that will be the holidays' biggest hit. Man, oh man, that was a mouthful.
A lot of words, but you know Henry Cavill couldn't do Superman mustacheless because he was on Mission Impossible, and that character in Mission Impossible, well manicured,
bro. I love how they still talk about his gun cocking. That was just fire,
and that's why I'm not worried about Henry Cavill. I know that he's going to go on to something great right now, because if you bounce from Superman to, oh no, this didn't work out, to Mission Impossible to Witcher, and then come back to Superman, I know I'm bummed at the timing, but I know whatever he does next is going to be incredible.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask you next, man, because I saw a number of people on Twitter be like, I feel so bad for Henry Cavill. Like, I would fire all my reps for this. How you gonna tell me I'm gonna be Superman and now I'm not Superman? Yo, F this up so bad. And I'm like, yes, I would be pissed off if there was a role that I really enjoyed playing, that I was told that I was coming back, but that's not on his reps.
His team didn't.
This team had nothing to do. They didn't promise him this. This was a studio being like, we would like to do this with you, and then backtracking because they've decided to go in a new direction, which for those that are a part of this industry, until it literally is released and the check is cash, nothing is a thing.
I used to say it's not real till there's a script when I was a young actor. Then I was a little bit more accurate and said it's not real till I'm on set. And now I say it's not real till the check is cashed. Like, there's levels.
But to even that point, it's still not real until you literally see it released. The number of projects, y'all, that I thought, this is it, this is my time, I finally made it, etc. There was a pilot that I was super excited about. I had a small role in it, but the director and the creator of the show loved me so much in that small role. Oops, sorry, that's a reminder to go take my medicine. They told me, they were like, yo, if this gets picked up, we actually want you to be a character that is here like every week. It would have been like an odd jobs thing, because I was running an escape room and I had such a deadpan delivery and I was so mean. They were like, we're gonna make this dude have like 50 jobs, so then they're gonna go on a date to go-karting and you're gonna be the dude running that, and then they're gonna go to like Dave and Buster's and you're gonna be bartending over there. We're gonna have you in every episode for like a bit, whatever. And I was like, great. And then, even though the pilot tested well, did not get picked up for series. So like, it happens.
Life can change. And what's crazy is Henry Cavill, particularly, he was like number 2 to Edward Cullen for Pattinson. Yep. He was like up for Bond, really close, top like 3 or 4 to Craig. Like,
which he might.
And well, because I was going to say, because Superman, he was up number 2 to Ralph. and then ended up coming back and getting Superman. So maybe the universe is giving him that Bond run around, and now he gets to get in that wheelhouse because now's the time.
I think that he would absolutely crush as Bond because, to be honest with you, my only beef with his Superman take a lot of times ends up being his Clark. It's not his Superman. He embodies that, I think, perfectly. I think what my issue is with his Clark, he's a little too suave. You know what I'm saying?
Suave. Dude, Man from Uncle, woo!
It's not to say that Clark can't be so, but he intentionally goofies himself up except for certain situations because he really is trying to throw people off the trail. Like,
which is so funny because in life, Henry Cavill's wicked goofy.
Right.
Like the
so there was a direction.
Nerd Henry Cavill is more Clark Kent than Superman, and he's built like Superman. But like when you see a Henry Cavill interview, he's so earnest and he's so like, gosh golly gee, like there's a shucks to him that is very Superman, which is what I thought we were gonna get after Black Adam post credit scene, because I don't think it's his Clark Kent. I think it's the directing of Clark
I agree.
Kent.
No, I agree, and I'm not saying that he can't do it, and I'm not. And after I say that, I know how many people are going to try and flame me and be like, "Hey, you stupid son of a bitch! You don't know what you're talking about."
I was just trying to save you the time later.
That I need to read comics. That's what they're going to tell me is that I need to read comics because there's a lot of Clarks out there. Yeah. But I'm saying specifically the Clark that always sticks out in my mind is the same way that Bruce Wayne plays that obnoxious playboy, and then if he needs to be a badass, he is, because his real him is Batman. Clark does something similar where he goofies himself up with a few exceptions, again, just to throw people off the trail. That's it. It's not because he is that much of a cornball. It's just because he literally is trying to throw people off the trail. Hence why.
I think the issue is the movies we've gotten so far, and this is not to insult them, it's to talk about the tone of them. This is not a jab, it is an acknowledgement, is that they were very intentionally cool. The movies are cool, and in being cool, you want your characters cool. So I feel like the directing was like, hey, just play it, this way, and play like there's an element of like every frame feels lush and righteous and badass, but that doesn't necessarily work for how you and I perceive Clark, which is what I think we could have gotten from Henry.
We could have got it out of Henry. I agree. With the right direction, I think so. And so that's why, honestly, I think he will not only bounce back, but I genuinely think it would behoove MGM, owned by Amazon now, to genuinely consider Henry to be Bond at this point. You've had
goodwill from the fans.
They would eat it up, and he has proven through his Clark, Man from Uncle, Mission Impossible, he has that swagger. So if he needs to come in and put on the tux and hit you with the Bond, James Bond, and swoon all the ladies, he can do it, bro. He can do it exceptionally well. His career will be fine. So anybody
Idris Elba said he's not in, and like I've heard like through various anecdotal things, the only way I'm as excited for Idris is Henry Cavill. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm there day one, midnight, no matter what the movie looks like. I don't care if Wes Anderson directs it. I'm there midnight if it's Henry Cavill.
I hear you, man. And so that's the whole thing. I genuinely believe it doesn't mean I'm not sad for him. Losing what you feel is your favorite role. I am so upset for Henry Cavill. But the fact that Gunn and Saffron weren't like, let's not do anything. It's just, we need to shift away from Superman right now. This is not what we're doing right now. And they're doing it to everyone. You know what I'm saying? We were talking about this a little bit earlier. He said in the Variety article, they said goodbye to Patty Jenkins. And to that point, she even said, I'll do what they want me to do. If they want me to throw this out and we go whatever, then that's fine. But I believe, honestly, with them telling Henry goodbye, I bet you they're going to say goodbye to Gal as well.
I think Henry literally is the last. If they let him go, it's everybody. Like, I can't imagine anyone.
So I think here's my hypothesis, because I don't think that there is any ill will with Gunn and Saffron with any of these actors. And based upon the fact that there has already been I would really be interested in this, or I'd really be interested in that. I think what you do is everybody in the roles that they're in gets erased, but then they get put into other things. So I would see potentially like we mentioned, you end up seeing Jason Momoa as Lobo. So if that happens, then maybe all of a sudden you see Henry. I'm trying to think what other character he would be really good at.
What's hard is he's Superman, man. And what's also hard is this comes back to that. Do people understand what's happening that don't understand the pop culture versus the level we do?
No, absolutely. I hear you on that one for sure. It'd be interesting. I could see him as like a Kyle Rayner, to be honest with you. If they decide to pull up a lantern, I
You know
think
what's
that he
funny?
could
I could
actually
see
do
him
that
as a
pretty
Scott
well.
Free. I could see him as a Mr. Miracle because he's got
I
a
could
great
see that
sense of
too.
humor.
I could see that too. I honestly could. I think that would do exceptionally well. So it's always possible that these actors just get shuffled into something else, and then other people take up the Holy Trinity, or the Justice League in general, that like the main players and whatnot. We don't know. We genuinely don't know, because it's going to take some time to find out. You know what I mean?
When I see the stage, and what I keep thinking, because this is like truly this is rough news, and I feel like I'm trying to illustrate the positive, but I want people to acknowledge like this is a bummer. But when I picture Hall H and a stage showing 7 members of the Justice League, if 2 or 3 of them are from an old iteration and 4 or 5 of them are from a new iteration, it doesn't make sense for a rebuild. And that's just, it's just a clean image. If you bring out 7 actors and you're like, oh, but Henry Cavill, like I would have loved that if it worked for the story. But I do trust in the story. And I do think in 10 years, we'll look back at this and go, man, that was rough. But what we built, what this is, what the DC universe became will be worth it, even if it hurts the next 5 years.
No, I agree with you. And let's real quick, since we're still talking about DC, let's talk about Patty Jenkins's tweet real quick. Let me pull this up super quickly. So the tweet that she put out that they had mentioned, that Gunn had responded to, she said, "Sigh, I'm not one to talk about private career matters, but I will not allow inaccuracies to continue. Here are the facts. I originally left Rogue Squadron after a long and productive development process when it became clear it wouldn't happen soon enough, and I did not want to delay Wonder Woman 3 any further. When I did, Lucasfilm asked me to consider coming back to Rogue Squadron after Wonder Woman 3, which I was honored to do, so I agreed. They made me a new deal. In fact, I'm still on it, and that project has been in active development ever since. Now, I don't know if it will happen or not. We never do until the development process is complete, but I look forward to its potential ahead." When there started being backlash about Wonder Woman 3 not happening, the attractive clickbait false story that it was the attractive clickbait false story that it was me that killed it or walked away started to spread. This is simply not true. I never walked away. I was open to considering anything asked of me. It was my understanding that there was nothing I could do to move anything forward at this time. DC is obviously buried in changes they are having to make. So I understand these decisions are difficult right now. I do not want what has been a beautiful journey with Wonder Woman to land on a negative note. I have loved and been so honored to be the person who got to make these last 2 Wonder Woman films. She's an incredible character. Living in and around her values makes one a better person every day. I wish her and her legacy an amazing future ahead, with or without me. Walking side by side with Linda Carter, an absolute legend and beacon of goddess, goodness and light, has been a thrill. I have learned so much from her and will cherish her as a friend and mentor always. My crew has been like family and fought every day to give the world the best films they could. And Gal Gadot, where do I begin? Gal is the greatest gift I have received in this whole journey. A cherished friend, inspiration, and sister. There are no words I could use to convey how magical she is. She's the walking embodiment of Wonder Woman in real life and a better person the world can imagine. Never once in a million moments have I spent with her did I see anything less. She's a gift to the world, and even more so to me. But lastly, and most importantly, thank you to the incredible Wonder Woman fans for all your love and support. Wonder Woman fans are often not the most visible in media and online, but I want you to know that we have always seen you and celebrated you and your importance. You were first and foremost in our minds every day. We made the last 2 films. You were the best and most loving people, and I look forward to always celebrating you. Thank all of you for this wonderful journey. Keep up the Wonder Woman spirit. Any day that you face struggles, try asking, what would Wonder Woman do? I hope her beacon of love, truth, and justice is always there to lead the way for you as she has done for me. So again, a super heartfelt sentiment, and it doesn't come from a place where it feels like Gunn and Saffron are like, y'all are failures, get out. That's not what this is at all. And again, Gunn followed up by saying, I can attest that all of Peter, my interactions with you were only pleasant and professional. It just genuinely feels like, as we've said, some people don't take a building that like used to be a blockbuster and gut it and whatever. They knock the whole thing over and start from the beginning. And that's just what we're seeing. And it doesn't mean that maybe you don't go back and use the same materials and go, you know what, we did like that nice oak finish. We're going to bring oak back into the building, this to the new one. But you are starting from scratch, and you need to.
People, if they take away the rose-colored glasses of their experience with the films, need to look at the fact that it was a film they loved, even if they loved all the films, I'm not going to quantify it with favoritism. I'm going to say it was another movie that was the sequel to the first movie that didn't do as well as it needed to. And then a third movie that then had a lot of horrible circumstances cloud its release. And then a release that was from one director cut in half. And then years later, of the release of the movie that was supposed to come out also cut in half because of how big that movie was. And the release of the bigger version was clouded in bots and actually not being as profitable as it needed to be. So it was a loss leader from the beginning. So if you take away your feeling towards the movies, look at the building itself. There's some issues with the plumbing. There's some issues with the insulation. There's some things that don't line up here. There's some structural soundness issues. Sometimes you got to tear that building down if there's structural issues.
No, I agree, man. And look,
I love that oak table.
Yeah, I'm trying to tell you, bro. But I think the big thing to keep in mind above all else, and this is where we have gone in on Zaslav. But I am hesitant and wouldn't go in on Gunn and Saffron.
This is the opposite bedside manner. They're literally communicating every step. Batgirl just happened at us. Batgirl was like, this is the opposite. This is, here's a tweet, here's a communication, here's me adding them, here's us communicating, here's an Instagram post. This is the opposite of what this started as.
Absolutely. And this doesn't, this to me, I think the difference too, this doesn't, I understand this is show business, so bottom lines and everything like that. But I am being presented not just with the bedside manner, but with reassurances of a legitimate plan versus like no contact whatsoever, as you mentioned. No game plan. The game plan is like, we find that the women folk like the reality shows. That. And then the fact that like some of the business dealings that have happened just straight up from Warner Brother Discovery out of Zaslav. Like I'm thinking again, we're not going to go super into the HBO Max thing, but the fact that shows that we're in the middle of airing, shows that had gotten their green light for their season 2 and were supposed to debut in like a week or two, just got completely axed. And these aren't situations where then you look at Westworld, which just ended its 4th season, where it's like, hey, y'all, we've decided to take it off HBO Max. You got like a couple weeks to catch up, watch, or whatever. It's just gone.
One of the biggest shows on that platform.
That's what I'm saying.
Nothing small.
And the reason why they did it is because you have to, they're trying to cut at having to pay all those residuals. That's why they did it. But again, it comes as callous and cold. That is not anything that I am reading from Gunn or Saffron. It is purely just a situation of trying to let them cook. And again, until they put out a project or two and they're bad, I have nothing but full faith in them. And I think that's what we have to do.
Also, the timing, if you look at it, like they're ending the year with these losses so we can start the new year fresh. If you look at just the timing of the year, right? Like this is the last real full work week, really. Like we're working next week because we're crazy people, but a lot of this town is shut down after tomorrow. Like that's kind of like, the way the town is. And then we'll come back mid-January. I guarantee early Q1, we get the Gunn Saffron plan. I think we end this with a rough, like, okay, we're going away for the holidays. Like I saw Henry Cavill at the Avatar premiere. He was there probably to fly in for the meeting with Gunn and Saffron. Like he came in, probably had that meeting, and like, that's ripping the Band-Aid off to start 2023. Because like Henry Cavill's not associated with James Cameron or Fox or any other reason to be there. I was like, why is Henry Cavill here? And then like the meeting happened. I was like, oh, he was in town and Henry Cavill should come to hang out, like new stuff. So like,
well, I have a question about that because I heard Roxy make a very solid point about Henry Cavill being at the Avatar premiere, because now you're talking about, the House of Mouse and all that. Is it possible that he's sniffing around to see if there is a Marvel project for him to work on? And to be honest with you, what if he comes in and you look at potentially one of these Superman variants in Marvel and he looks at maybe playing the Sentry? It could be really interesting to watch him play like a dark, like for him to come in as both the Sentry and Void. That could be really, really intriguing in my opinion. This is a high praise to Henry Cavill. I think he's better than Sentry. I could see him be something more akin to Doom. Something that's going to be like on scale of like, because I see Sentry as a movie or two, right? Like I don't want Henry Cavill to come back and be like on the almost list again. Like give my guy 10. Like give my, you know what I mean? Like franchise him up immediately, or give him the one fun character role like Brad Pitt and Snatch. Like let him either go one or the two, not like
But I mean, if he's Sentry, I'm going to be more excited for Sentry than I've ever been because I don't think the characters that just doing the comics is he can make them. But I also think I should read those Sentry comics. But I also think that what Henry Cavill brings is all of this fan goodwill, right? Like you're automatically selling X number of things because of all this happening. So as rough as it is, I do think Henry Cavill has never been in a better position to make his next franchise move.
Absolutely. I think that the world at this point is his oyster, man. And I think that whatever he does next is going to absolutely explode on the scene. Speaking of exploding on the scene, boom, baby. As y'all know, with Capes and Cowls, we are partnered with Boom Studios. They are absolutely incredible comics. They're moving into movies, all sorts of incredible media, man. We have been so delighted to have them be a part of the Capes and Cowls family and really help get the word out, man. One of the big things that we always talk about is some of the books we talk about here. So many fans in the comments on Twitter have been coming back and being like, I had really never even looked at Boom before, and now I'm all about it. So today we're kind of revisiting something that we already discussed. So I'm going to play a little teaser trailer for you. Check this out. So that, if you guys do not remember, A Vicious Circle, we got these boxes. I did an unboxing that'll be on my channel later today. But A Vicious Circle dropped yesterday, y'all. And so that was a little teaser for that. Again, you can take a look at this if you want. If you scan that QR code that's on the screen, it'll take you directly to that on Boom Studios. But a big shout out to Boom for sending it to us. And Coy, did you get yours already, man?
I got mine this morning. Like I got mine today. Okay. Like now I know what's gonna be inside. Well, I already knew, but now I know like that view.
Oh, I didn't. I was pleasantly surprised. So yeah, they sent us book one, and again, it's absolutely beautiful. Here's again some of the visuals here, y'all. You can see. This is one of the prettiest comics, graphic novels I have ever seen. And it's because not only do they kill it, but they also just add so many different art styles.
And it's all Liebermejo, man. That's one artist doing so much different work.
It's absolutely crazy.
And not to downplay the writing either, man. Mattson Tomlin has crafted a hell of an intriguing kickoff. Like they describe this as a 3-issue event, and that's what it feels like. Like these are big issues, and like I'm fascinated by this book.
No, dude, I cannot wait for the following books to come out, man. Like just because of how I can't stress it enough, especially the ending. The ending is kind of wild. And what's funny about it, I don't know if you noticed on that very last page, he kind of looks like Will Smith in like I Am Legend a little bit. The main
I got
character.
that vibe.
You know what I mean? But again, here's some more some of the variant cover artwork for it. And again, for those that aren't aware, this is a story about two time traveler assassins kind of chasing each other through time. And it's this idea, as you kind of saw in that trailer, it's this vicious circle of who is actually the hero, who's the assassin, who's the villain, what's kind of going on there. And we're just trying to figure it all out, man. So if you haven't, go and get your copy of A Vicious Circle right away from Boom Studios. Thank you again for sponsoring us, partnering with us, and really bringing us along for the ride, man. Is there any other Boom stuff that you want to jump into at all?
Yeah, Damn Them All 2 came out last week, or maybe 2 weeks ago now, because time's a flat circle. Exhibit A, time travel. But the second book for Damn Them All, which like Damn Them All #1, I think is one of my favorite #1s of the year. And I read most books. Like I read about 70 books a week. So when I say a #1 impacts me, I mean it because I read all the #1s. But I always pick up a Boom #1. I always pick up Image #1s because that's the new version of these artists getting to tell their story. Like Boom gives a lot of people a lot of creative freedom to really make the book they want. So I love their #1s, but that's always tricky because sometimes you love the way a story kicks off because that's what's been percolating forever. But then the second issue has to be like, okay, we got a month. And like sometimes issue 2s feel like it's like a sophomore album. Sometimes the issue 2 doesn't feel as strong as the issue 1. So I'm always scared of issue 2s just out of like, oh no, I loved 1 so much. Damn Them All 2 landed solid. It is so good, so intense. I love this new world of characters. It's got a very Constantine Hellblazer vibe. I love both the male and female leads because they feel like they're two sides of the same really aggressive magic coin. I love the rules of magic they're implementing. I love that the language feels like you can smell it. It's tangible. It's like when you hear Guy Ritchie dialogue, there's a certain chewiness to it. This is like that with a stank. Loving this book. Damn Them All solid.
Absolutely, man. I absolutely love it. And I am loving the fact that, again, I had mentioned this before. So the original Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles crossover, I had read that, but I didn't pay attention to the fact that it was Boom. I was just like, Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers. So like to come back and then have someone open my eyes and go, yeah, that was like, whoa, that was. I'm trying to remember. There was a movie that happened recently that I watched something and then someone was like, oh, that was so-and-so director. It's slipping my mind. But that's mainly because I don't always retain names like that and labels like that. It's only when someone brings it to.
That's why we managed.
That's why I managed.
It doesn't stick the same way. I'll give you context. I'll argue. I'll movie fight, but I'm not going to remember 1976's Best Picture right now. That said, Boom does a really cool thing where they're like we talked about the movie element. Berserker I'll talk about for an hour a day every day. But the way they're developing things, Mattson Tomlin is writing the Berserker movie with Keanu Reeves. Mattson Tomlin is also writing the Batman 2 with Matt Reeves. So he's teaming up with all them Reeves to make all them movies. So the guy that's writing A Vicious Circle is also the guy that's shepherding the Batman 2 forward, which does seem to be going forward, even with all this stuff going on at DC. So
so that was an interesting thing that's pretty crazy. So let's talk about that. Let's stay in the DC world just for a little bit. Let me make sure I get this asset up here. I got to remember not to freak out about taking my time to pull assets because Kristian be fumbling, rumbling, stumbling, bumbling the whole time he does it. It's not a big.
Yeah, you're pulling up the right one first after taking 2 seconds instead of 5 wrong ones. No disrespect, Kristian. When you watch this later, I'm just saying sometimes it's the wrong image. It's okay.
It's all good. I don't even bother because look, man, we come in and we're there for flavor. It's not even that's not my job.
No, we're seasoning.
That's it. We're just a good like Lowry's and some paprika, dog. So DC Studios boss James Gunn responds to reports the Batman is joining the DCU. Matt Reeves also weighs in. Following reports, DC Studios co-heads James Gunn and Saffron are mulling over bringing Pattinson's Batman into the DCU. The Suicide Squad director has shared his response. Well, it was fun while it lasted. James Gunn has always been transparent with fans, and that clearly won't change now that he's in charge of DC Studios alongside Peter Safran. Mere hours after Variety reported that Robert Pattinson's Batman will likely be brought into the new DCU, the filmmaker has debunked these claims on Twitter. There are a few reports I love more than Adam B. Very, truly a good guy, but in this case, he needs to get a new source as this is entirely untrue. Now, while fans haven't had much time to chime in, the possibility of the Batman franchise being folded into the DCU received a mixed response. Some are overjoyed by the prospect of Pattinson's Dark Knight being this shared world's Batman, while others would rather Matt Reeves' Gotham City is left well alone. Of course, this begs the question, who will be the DCU's Batman? Ben Affleck was willing to return for The Flash and Aquaman The Lost Kingdom, but we've seen nothing to suggest he'd want to continue playing Batman for years to come. The original plan had been for Michael Keaton to take over playing Bruce Wayne in The Flash, the aforementioned Aquaman sequel, Batgirl, and eventually a Batman Beyond project. Perhaps we're getting a new Batman, or no Batman at all. We'll clearly have to wait and see, but with Gunn and Safran set to present their 8 to 10-year DC plan to Warner Brothers this week, fingers crossed that we will get some news early next year. What is everyone's thoughts on this? And by everyone, I mean Coy. Obviously, I'm speaking to the audience as well, but Coy, I'm curious, man. You hear that? What do you think?
So from the day we got the Batman trailer, I said, oh, thank you for keeping it separate. I think the Batman is the way you have your cake and eat it too. DC Black Label is my favorite imprint in DC history, maybe next to Vertigo. Vertigo is also a solid imprint, but they're very consciously separate. Vertigo reprinted Watchmen. Watchmen, I don't like touched DC. There was an entire thing where they blended like Rorschach and Batman were in the same room, and I was like,
right.
I like when Watchmen's over there. I think this Batman should be over here. Joker should not touch it. Joaquin's Joker should not touch the Batman or the DC universe. They should be separate. So if you're going to trust audiences to have a reboot, you should also trust audiences to know that the Batman is not in the Justice League. And this Batman, this Gotham, I understand that dark and gritty can work with superheroics, but as we have this Gotham now, if you had Green Lantern land in that city, that wouldn't work. If you had Superman suddenly appear, that doesn't work tonally. They worked very hard to make these psychological elements the supernatural. If you look at all the villains within Gotham, it's all psychologically an 11, which is the fun of Batman. That's why an Arkham show would work, because it's all based on psychology. If you add otherworldly elements, the psychology gets diminished. If you introduce a nuke, a handgun is no longer interesting. Chris Nolan's out there shooting nuclear explosions. I'm not going to be as excited to see a CGI bomb go off. So, like, you need to make sure the context of the flavor stays solid. And in the comic books, there are so many Batman issues where the Batman world builds out the Bat family and doesn't really interact with the Justice League. In fact, a lot of times the art style of visually looking at Batman, he feels different in the Justice League because he has to be represented more differently when he's around Flash and Aquaman and Wonder Woman. So, like, I would have a completely different style of Batman actor and introduce him amongst these gods than have Pattinson as this very conscious year two, then introduced into this world. So I say keep Matt Reeves separate, make the Penguin show, build out, flesh out your gritty Gotham, and then make Gotham a part of your tapestry of the Justice League, but make sure it's a different Gotham.
And that I fully agree with you. And I think from the standpoint of, because I saw a lot of people when we were talking about this, then even putting comments here or on Twitter or wherever, like, "No, man, don't you know that Batman could be dark and he could be happy-go-lucky in the Justice League?" I'm like, yeah, sure, but there is something very specific about the flavor that Matt Reeves has presented. I don't want any reason for it to get tainted, if that makes sense. Like, it's what you were saying about not having that Watchmen crossover, all the stuff you just mentioned as examples. This is just a situation where you genuinely, it is so good. Let that be its own complete thing. If you want to make, and I said this when we talked about it before, if you want to make nods, homages, little Easter eggs, that the rest of the DC universe exists in some fashion, fine. But I do not want to see that Batman or that Gotham involved in any dark side shenanigans, Lex Luthor shenanigans. I just want to see how this rogue vigilante is dealing with these psychopaths within this city. And again, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get some sort of supernatural element, because Batman deals with that all the time. There are the clay faces of the world and the killer Crocs. I hope that they don't jump into that all willy-nilly and we find a realistic way, if we're going to even broach some of the super-powered villains. I hope we find a very strong way to do that. But I genuinely like that this is just something separate. You know,
Brandon Routh was 06 Superman Returns, right?
Yep.
The Dark Knight was 08 after Batman Begins was 05. If Brandon Routh showed up in Dark Knight, because he was only, his movie was only 2 years earlier, that's the timing. If Brandon Routh showed up in Dark Knight, Nolan's universe doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And that's the thing that we've seen, is that, again, it's not to say that we don't love shared universes. Of course we do. Like, and I think the other thing that makes it a little bit different is the fact that at the time, there wasn't a whole bunch of DC projects necessarily running around, and we had not seen a shared universe yet. Like, the real shared universe that worked did not start until also in 08 when Iron Man Begins, and you get at the very end a Nick Fury showing up being like, "I want to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative." So now we're getting in our mind, okay, so these might have a connection. It's not
and
to
then
say that
immediately stumbled. Think about the timing. Incredible Hulk 3 months later was a stumble. And that might also happen with James Gunn and Peter Safran. I want people to also realize Marvel didn't start flawlessly. Like, people need to let this like happen.
I would even make the argument that you went hard in the paint with Iron Man. You had the next two films be kind of Thor, at the time, I really liked it. In retrospect, is okay. First Avenger, good movie, but nothing like, I'm not mind blown, especially knowing what's coming for Captain America. But you got hype because it was getting closer and closer. So all those flaws disappeared in those movies because you knew what was coming. And then we get Avengers, and oh my God. So you had the buildup and all that kind of stuff, but you set that tone from the start. This is not the tone that was set with the Batman. And it was not the tone that was set with Joker. So if that's not how you've said it, you do not want to just abandon the plan you had for something and force it in. It doesn't make logical sense.
And why not have the opportunity to make a dark, gritty world of a Gotham show or a Penguin show, plus Batman movies, plus all that? Why sacrifice that when you could also have a more Justice League appropriate Batman with a very easy casting decision? Like, it's why not make your profits back? Especially, I mean, DC could use a lot of big wins right now financially. So why would you cut off, one of those giant streams of opportunity?
Absolutely, man. I mean, everybody's looking for a big win. Everybody's looking for a way to get that green. And so our sponsors trying to make sure that you are doing that as well. I told you I got them segues, boy. Our sponsor, Athletic Greens, is the way to get those greens. Now, this is a product that we use every single day. I know Kristian is always harping on it. You are as well, man. And you guys sold me. I just realized I needed to get it in some cold water because at first I was like, this tastes like greens. And
cold water changes the game.
You hit in that cold water and all of a sudden, boom, man. And I got to be honest with you, not just my energy, but like my gut health, because I always take probiotics. I don't need to do that because I have this, man. It's so good. So what's in this stuff, man? With one delicious AG1 scoop, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help start your day right. The special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All of the things. So why do I normally take it? Tell me a little bit about when you decide to pick up Athletic Greens and how it's come into your daily lifestyle, Coy.
So basically, I don't sleep enough and I drink too much coffee. And when you put those things together, sometimes you get a pretty sour belly, just in the sin of acidity. Like, I just get like more acid than my body can hang. So a lot of times, like, I have a travel pack. I always keep 3 travel packs in my car. And literally, I have a, refillable water bottle. So sometimes you pour it in a half full water bottle, fill the top with water, shake it up. And then within like half an hour, I feel less just like sour. It kind of balances my whole chi out, and the energy from it prevents me from having that like 4 or 5 o'clock post coffee slump.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a maintenance tool for my pH, for my energy, and for all the greens I'm not eating when I'm running around and only eating 1 meal a day because I'm an idiot and forgot.
Dude, it's super on point. I'm right there with you. I mean, for me, I love the fact that it's keto friendly, paleo friendly, vegan, dairy free, gluten free. I was taking it while I was doing Whole30, which was amazing. I take it as my pre-workout now. It's like it's not as harsh.
Yeah,
that pre-workouts can do. So like when I go play dodgeball, which it's funny because it's also, as a testimonial, it's been recommended by a number of professional athletes. But I take it then, and it costs you less than $3 a day to invest in your health, and it's cheaper than that cold brew habit. And like Coy said, that stuff will make you crash pretty hard. So right now, it's your time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. Cold water, make it cold water, but that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Make it easy. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/bigthing to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. One more time, athleticgreens.com/bigthing. Yeah, man, I genuinely really enjoy. That I was resistant because how I am about that stuff, and I tried it the first time, and it's just because Kristian had them hot ass water bottles in the studio,
and like also hot water in general. Like when water's just sitting cooking, the water tastes bad. You can't. That's not the way to know it. But
so
cold water.
But the minute the next time I was there, I was like, I'm gonna try it one more time, and I got it in a cold water bottle. Heaven. I like ascended, bro. It was so good.
Also, integrity to Winston for saying like, okay, I'm gonna try it again before I say I like this thing on the record. Because he'll say like, oh, this is our sponsor, or talk about it. But when he gives a testimonial, he's a man of honor, and he actually likes it, and that helps because now he doesn't have to be like, I drink it.
No, I know exactly, man. So no, it's super good. And I love, as Kristian brings up all the time, man, the sponsors that we have. I love that you guys are indeed grabbing them and telling us which ones you like, because that stuff gets back to the sponsor. They not only see it with the purchases, but they see the comments, they see the show, all that kind of stuff. And that is how you continue to support the show. If you can't send in the Patreon stuff or anything else that we've got going to support us, you stepping up and doing that, like buying these products, really, really helps us. And hopefully it's helping you too, man. All right, let's do one last story before we get out of here, man. I am sure that you saw the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse trailer. Yeah, Coy?
Immediately. I waited. So it dropped at 9 a.m. and I was afraid it was going to be like wrong somehow that it was 9 a.m. EST. So I got up at 6 a.m. and I checked every hour at 59 and then I was at 9 a.m. But I was there for 3 hours making sure that trailer came on my eyeballs ASAP.
No, absolutely, man. Was blown away by it, but I am curious because this was kind of an asset to break down all of the Sony slate. And instead of doing that, I kind of just want to break down this trailer real quick. I just don't have another Spider-Man asset, but I wanted to get your thoughts. So the comic book movie broke down a 6-point list of potential things going on. So the first is Miles as Spider-Man finding his footing as a superhero. You see him swinging by, sticking the money to the hot dog vendor's chest as he grabs some food on the way, which was kind of fun. But there's a whole bunch of variants. We kind of get. Are you a Rick and Morty person, Coy?
Casual, but yeah.
Okay, so you know that like there's the whole Citadel of Ricks, the same way you had the kind of like the Citadel of
very much that
Reeds, all that. So many Spider-Man, like just everywhere, and the ones that people were able to pick out. You had Spider-Man PS4, you had Miles Morales PS5, you had the Mark II Spider Armor, you had Spinneret.
Yep.
Spinneret, Spiderling, Lady Spire, Bombastic Bagman, which is one of my favorites. Superior Spider-Man, 6-Arm Spider-Man, Spider Armor MK1, Spider-Man from the PlayStation 1, Spider Monkey, Spider-Man Unlimited, Spider Clan, and Werewolf Spider-Man. These were all apparently people that Spider-Man that people were able to pick out. So we see Peter B. Parker comes back. We see that there is a Spider-Woman versus Vulture fight at one point. But the big thing that's kind of scary is this idea that Spider-Man 2099, which, Miguel O'Hara traditionally is potentially the big bad, because at one point, all of the Spider people are chasing and trying to beat the brakes off of Miles. And you see this really jacked Spider-Man 2099 body slam him at the end of the trailer. Now, I don't know a lot of 2099 stories. I know a handful. Is there a point where he goes bad, Coy, that we're just not aware of? Or is this something brand new? What are you thinking, man?
So Spider-Man 2099 is my guy. I am a huge Miguel O'Hara fan. Giant. So Miguel O'Hara is more of an anti-hero than Peter Parker. He's got an edge to him. For example, the way the way he climbs walls is he actually has talons on the end of his fingers, and it punctures. He uses those offensively too. Like he'll have them come out and slash like Wolverine. Like he'll get you. So he's always been more antagonistic. What I think this is going to be is a miscommunication where there is a fight between them, maybe even for 2 acts. But by the end of the movie, which I think ends on a cliffhanger, because originally this was a part 1 and part 2, I think they realized there was a miscommunication. They are on the same side. So I think it's going to be one of those things where he might be the antagonist for this movie or one of the antagonists. But by the end, they realize like where they went wrong, because he's always been very hot-headed. He's always been like short-leashed. He's always like attack first, figure out stuff later. So it might just be a matter of that, but with Miles. Got you.
Hold on one second. No, I feel that, man. And I wonder honestly if with all of that, I wonder if for Miguel being from the future, I understand that this is a variety of Spider-Man, but with him being from the future, what if it's, you're the one that your universe opened this gate. If we go back and erase your universe, then none of this happens and we're all fine. I wonder if it's maybe one of those situations where because of the events of the first movie, it has actually screwed everything up for other folks. Like,
I could see the web, so to speak, decaying, right? That's a plot line in the comic books. Is,
right.
When the web falls apart, and maybe they caused that. Maybe him going to see Gwen so much back and forth messes with the timeline.
Yeah. No, absolutely. It could very much be a thing. Well, it's about time for us to get out of here. So before we do, Coy, my mama's at the door. So I'm gonna let you tell everybody what you got going on, what they should look out for, how to follow you, all that good stuff, man.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Coy Jandreau. You can find me at Coy Jandreau on TikTok, on Twitter, on Instagram. I'm over at The Real Rejects. I pop up on New Rockstars. I got a couple things jumping off next year. I'm an announcer in Q1. You can find me sometimes at Screen Junkies, at Rotten Tomatoes, at Nerdist, doing interviews everywhere. I'm on the internets. But mainly, I want to say, if you like the Spider-Man trailer, check out my reaction with John over at Real Rejects. We did a full, at the time it drops, live reaction to the trailer. The only name I heard not mentioned was Spider-Cop, is also in that trailer, who is a character from the Spider-Man video game universe they made into a comic books. They made a comic adaptation of the Spider-Man video game, and Spider-Cop is featured in that comic book. So it's a very deep cut because it's a meta awareness of multiple mediums, and I'm very excited to see him in there. And yeah, if you like comics and movies and all that jazz, hunt me down on any of the socials. And I'm excited for next week when we do our year-end wrap-up right here at Capes and Cowls. I think that was enough vamping because I think Winston's back.
Yeah, no, you got me. I am back. And for those that want to follow me, I'm the Swaggy Blurred. You can go follow me on my YouTube channel and on all the platforms. We're doing a lot of stuff on TikTok. You can follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff at the Swaggy Blurred again. But yeah, I'll have the full unboxing. I mean, you saw pretty much everything that was in there, but the full unboxing from Boom over on my channel later today. And other than that, be sure to, again, come back every single week to Capes and Cowls. Hang with us. We're talking about the good stuff. And yes, we will have our year-end wrap up next week. As Coy said, I believe Kristian should be back. So I hope he is enjoying his time off. But that's pretty much it, everybody. So thank you so much for joining myself and Coy as we get out of here. This has been an awesome Capes and Cowls. We wish Henry Cavill the absolute best. We know you're going to land on your feet and not just that.
Did you do an immediate reaction to the news on your YouTube of the Henry Cavill thing?
I didn't. I probably should have, but I just was, it is what it is. But either way.
I did, so if you want to check out more of my thoughts there on my YouTube, but also Winston's been making his page great. Like, you've been crushing your page, man.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, everybody. We're going to get out of here. Y'all have a great rest of your week. Peace.